Okay, so in the previous video, we demonstrated how to make an HP meter, and someone said, can you make the HP meter animated? So when you receive damage, rather than having the meter drop immediately by that amount of damage, have it decrease over time, briefly over time, obviously, like half a second, whatever. But rather than have it drop immediately, that have it drop in a few chunks. That way it appears to be animated. So yes, this is doable. And for those of you who did not watch the previous video, I'll do a quick summary and we'll use a whole new script. That way you don't have to go back and watch the previous video. So in short, what makes this work is by going up to Game Object, UI, and Image. You need to use a UI image, not just a regular image. Why? Because when you apply an image to this component, so we'll just take this little box I drew in an external paint program, you get this image type. So you change image type to filled, and then you have the ability to choose how it's filled, like is it radial, is it horizontal? Ours will actually be horizontal. Does it fill left to right, right to left? We want left to right, right to left, so it starts from the left, so it fills to the left, but it decreases. Excuse me, it fills to the right, but decreases to the left. And the fill amount simply does that. And that the key to making this work is this is 0 to 1, so 0% to 100%. This will be a ratio. So what you're going to do is you're going to apply your current HP divided by your max HP. So if your current HP is 100, your max HP is 100, well, that's 1 and it's not reduced. If your current HP is 50, and your max HP is 100, well, then that's only 50, and therefore it should be there, and so on and so forth. So, to make this animated, what you need to do is you need to know how much incoming damage, well, how much damage is incoming, divide that by an arbitrary amount, and then after you've divided it, you then apply this. So, you break the damage down into tenths, or 20ths, or 30ths, whatever number you want, and you have it change over time. So let's just make this look a little bit more like a health bar. So let's increase this to, say, 300 width, and make this about 40 height. And you can also change the color by clicking on color, and we'll just choose green. Now, we need the GM object to be aware of this. If you didn't watch the last video, there's nothing special about a GM object. Calling it GM means absolutely nothing to Unity. It's to let you, the developer, know that you're using this object as a game master object. It's essentially an empty object that just has some scripts attached to it. So, we're going to right-click, we're going to do Create, and we're going to do C#, and let's call this Animate HP. Let's rename this to HP meter, and I don't think I use that anywhere else. And now we take our GM object, we apply our animate HP to it, and we open that up. Wherever you see these double // you can delete that because it's a remark statement. It is not executed. It's simply internal documentation. To get access to some additional commands, we're going to type in using Unity Engine .ui. As I said, we're using UI objects. And now what we need to do, we now need to create a few variables, and we need the GM object to be aware of the HP meter. So, public image HP image, so that's going to be the meter object. Public static float, sorry. Lost my thought for a second. So public static float, and we'll call this max HP. We'll set it 100. Public static float current HP will also be 100. And as I said, we need to know how much the incoming damage is. So that will also be public static float incoming damage. And that will be, say, 40 points. And then we can use a private float HP percent. And that can be set to 0. We're going to recalculate that right away. We'll save that. We're going to go back to our scene for just a moment. So here's the GM object. There's the HP image. We click on the selector. We're going to want to select this one, which we said is HP meter. So we'll click there, and we'll go to HP meter. And so now the GM object is aware of the HP meter and can make changes to it. So let's create an initial. We're going to create initial delay, but there's one other thing we need to add. So public static string refresh meter. So this is going to be the indicator as to whether or not the meter actually needs to be refreshed, because it's a routine that's going to be run, and so since it needs to be run only at certain times, you want an indicator to let you know that it needs to be run. So if actually we're going to put it into the update section just to be able to troubleshoot what is going to be a real world issue. So if refresh meter equals yes, then we want a coroutine to run. In fact, we're going to have two. The first one is going to be a delay just to give us a chance to troubleshoot. So in your game, you won't have to have that first delay. We'll put it there just for the purpose of troubleshooting. So it's going to be IE numerator, and we'll call this initial delay. And the sole purpose, again, is just to give us a chance to troubleshoot. So yield, return, new, and, oops, sorry, don't need parentheses. Wait 4 seconds, we'll wait 2 seconds. And then we will have this go out to the actual routine that we care about. So we need this to read this. So start coroutine, parenthesis, initial delay, parenthesis. Likewise, well, won't copy that yet. So this will come down to here, and then this will actually go through the routine. Now, here's what I want to talk about. If you put the refresh in here, the checking of refresh in start, it would only happen the first time. So it would work for our process, but would not work for yours, because you needed this to be checked with every single frame. However, once it starts, you don't want it to keep repeating. So in here, you would do refresh meter equals no. So for one frame, this will be true. It changes it and then starts the coroutine. So now let's look at the real coroutine that is going to drive this. And so I don't mess anything up, and to be considerate of your time, I'm going to paste this in and then we will walk through it. So Let's type out enumerator, and we'll call this update HP meter. We'll paste this in here. Okay, so first we have the same thing that we have here, and that is a delay. Now, because we want this to be animated, we want this to be a very short delay. It's completely arbitrary as to what you feel looks right. Okay. Now, what do we have here? So at the beginning, we said HP%. It is equal to, this part is the numerator, and then this part is the denominator. So we said that it's max HP, so all this is calculating a fraction, okay? The numerator of the fraction. So the current HP minus parentheses the incoming damage divided by 20. In other words, we're going to break it up into 20 pieces and then times num, we have to add this up at the top. This is how many of those 20 pieces. So it'll start at 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. And so a greater and greater amount of the meter is going to be removed. So sorry for forgetting about that. So we will do private float numer, and it can start at 0. Okay. So that line goes away because now it knows the squiggly underline. Now it knows what that is. Okay, so we wait 2/100th of a second. We calculate the percent. That's why I called it HP%, because again, that's what this is doing. The entire thing is a calculation. The bottom is the numerator, and the rest of it is the denominator. And then it gets applied to the HP image. So as we said, this is already an image. That's why I don't have to do get component image. I can just start with the fill amount. So HP image.fill amount. I'm going to jump back over here for a second. Remember this? I said the fill amount. So that is exactly the same thing. It's not a coincidence that it's the same verbiage. It's the fill amount, and you're applying a percent to it. Now, you're just going to check. Have we reached 20? Well, since it's only run once, then the answer is no, it hasn't reached 20. So increment this by 1, and then run this again. I just have to update the name. I used a different name when I was planning ahead. There we go. And then while we're at it, we'll pop that into here. And we'll set numer to 1. Actually, I started it as 0. So in other words, 1/20th will be removed, then 2/20ths, then 3/20ths, then 4/20ths, on and on and on. There might be a simpler way to do this equation. I just don't feel like doing the algebra. So I think that should do it. So we wait 2/100ths of a second. We calculate the HP with an increasing numerator. We apply it to the fill amount of the HP image. We check to see if we have to do it again. If we do, then we increase it by 1 and run it again. And if I haven't forgotten anything, that should do it. Don't mind the error message that was down there. That's when I was practicing earlier. And let's see if this works. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So really all that's left, if we go back to our script, I just want to point out that we haven't actually changed current HP. We said HP% is equal to current HP with this being done to it, but we didn't actually change this. We did this calculation, but dumped it into HP%. We didn't actually modify the current HP, so keep in mind you'll still need to do that somewhere. The only reason why I'm not going to do it here is because where I put it really doesn't matter, because you're going to have a game flow for your game. You're going to already have a place to calculate the current HP. I'm just saying this is how you do the animation of the meter. That was the ask, and so that's what I demonstrated. You would have to integrate this into your own program. I do want to mention that depending on where you modify it, like if you change the current HP up here, current HP has already been modified, and so this will give you too low of a number. So you might actually find that you need a duplicate for current HP. So maybe you have current HP and projected HP or something like that. So you might find that you need an additional number for this. Or the other problem is if you don't modify current HP till after this, then you're basically giving them a brief moment of invincibility, because if they receive more damage, you haven't actually calculated the current HP. So keep in mind that you're kind of using current HP for double duty, so you might actually want a duplicate, I shouldn't say a duplicate, but a second variable that keeps track of the same number. So again, current HP versus projected HP, something like that. And just, again, keep in mind that depending on where you're changing this variable, it could potentially break this calculation, and just keep that in mind. So I think that should about do it. I hope this is helpful. If you have any other questions, please just put in the comments, say, show me how to do XYZ. And that should about do it. I hope this was helpful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.